Love yourself first. Let me ask you something nobody ever asks you. When was the last time you were genuinely kind to yourself? Not the surface-level kind. Not the bubble bath and treat yourself kind. I mean the deep, real, soul-level kind of kindness that says, I am enough. I am worthy. I deserve my own love before I deserve anyone else's. When was the last time you looked in the mirror and instead of immediately finding something wrong, you found something worth protecting? If you're struggling to answer that question, this is exactly where you need to be right now. Because today, we are going to talk about something that the modern world has completely backwards. Something that society, social media, and even the people closest to you may have trained you to believe is selfish, arrogant, or weak. Loving yourself first. And before you scroll away or dismiss this as another feel-good motivational video, I want you to hear me clearly. This is not about ego. This is not about arrogance. This is not about thinking you are better than everyone else. This is about survival. This is about strength. This is about becoming the kind of person who can actually show up fully for yourself, for the people you love, and for the life you were built to live. The Stoics understood this at the deepest level.
Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca.
These were not soft men. These were warriors of the mind. Leaders of empires. Men who faced death, betrayal, loss, and chaos, and still chose to operate from a place of deep inner dignity. They did not love themselves because the world told them to. They loved themselves because they understood that without that foundation, everything else crumbles. So sit down, get comfortable, and let's go deep today. This is Wisdom Unlocked, and this might be the most important video you watch all year. The world taught you to abandon yourself. From the moment you were born, the world began teaching you a dangerous lesson. Be good for others. Be quiet for others. Shrink yourself for others. Change yourself for others. Sacrifice yourself for others. And look, some of that is noble. Community matters. Relationships matter. Service matters. But somewhere along the way, something went terribly wrong. The message stopped being give generously and became give everything. The message stopped being be kind and became be invisible. The message stopped being love others and became love others instead of yourself. And so you grew up. And you learned to monitor everyone else's emotions before your own. You learned to say yes when every cell in your body was screaming no. You learned to dim your light so others could feel comfortable. You learned to apologize for your opinions, your needs, your very existence. You learned to abandon yourself. And here is the devastating part. You became so good at it that you stopped noticing you were doing it. You started to believe that your needs were too much. That your feelings were too sensitive. That your dreams were too big. That your worth was somehow attached to how useful you could be to other people. And slowly, quietly, without anyone making a single announcement, you lost yourself. Can you feel that? Because millions of people are walking around right now in that exact state. Completely disconnected from who they are. Running on empty. Pouring from a cup that nobody ever refills. Giving and giving and giving until there is absolutely nothing left, and then wondering why they feel so hollow inside. This is not strength. This is not virtue. This is not noble. This is self-abandonment. And it is one of the most painful things a human being can experience. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus, a man who was born into slavery, who had literally everything taken from him, said something that should stop every single one of us in our tracks. He said that the foundation of all philosophy, the starting point of wisdom, is knowing what is yours to control and what is not. And your relationship with yourself, your inner world, your values, your self-worth, that is entirely yours. Nobody can give it to you. Nobody can take it away unless you allow them to. But you have to choose it. You have to claim it. You have to build it, deliberately and unapologetically. That is what loving yourself first truly means. Chapter 1. What self-love actually is. Let us clear something up immediately because the phrase self-love has been so watered down, so commercialized, so misused that most people do not even know what it actually means anymore. Self-love is not a spa day. It is not a shopping trip. It is not posting a confident caption on Instagram. Those things are fine. There is nothing wrong with them. But they are not self-love. They are self-care at best, and self-distraction at worst. Real self-love, Stoic self-love, is something far deeper and far more demanding. It is the commitment to know yourself honestly, to hold yourself accountable with compassion, to protect your values even when it costs you something, to pursue your growth even when it is uncomfortable, to treat yourself with the same dignity and respect you would offer someone you genuinely admire. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal, a journal he never intended for anyone else to read, these words. He said that a man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions. That what we pursue in private reveals who we truly are. Think about that for a moment. Marcus Aurelius was the most powerful man in the entire Roman Empire. He commanded armies. He ruled nations. He was worshipped as a god by some people. And yet in his private writings he kept returning to one question. Am I being true to myself? Am I living with integrity? Am I honoring who I was made to be? That is self-love. Not the performed version. The private version. The version that exists when no one is watching. The version that asks hard questions and demands honest answers. Self-love is showing up for yourself the way you wish others would show up for you. It is setting boundaries not out of anger but out of respect for your own well-being. It is saying no to things that drain you not because you are selfish but because you understand that your energy is sacred and finite. It is choosing growth over comfort not because it is easy but because you refuse to waste the life you have been given. It is looking at your flaws, your failures, your fears, and instead of drowning in shame, choosing to learn from them and keep moving forward. That is what the Stoics practiced. Not self-indulgence. Not arrogance, but deep, disciplined, dignified self-respect. And here is the thing that will change everything for you once you truly understand it. You cannot genuinely love anyone else until you love yourself first. Not your partner, not your children, not your friends, not your community. Because love is not just a feeling. Love is an action. It requires presence. It requires energy. It requires clarity and strength and the ability to give without resentment. And you cannot give what you do not have. A cup that is empty cannot fill another cup. A phone with a dead battery cannot charge another device. A fire that has burned out cannot warm another person. You must be filled first. You must be charged first. You must be burning first. And that is not selfishness. That is wisdom. That is the most responsible, the most loving thing you can possibly do for every single person in your life. Fill yourself first, then overflow into the world. Chapter 2. The Stoic Mirror. Knowing who you truly are. Before you can love yourself, you have to know yourself. And that, for most people, is the terrifying part. Because somewhere deep down, many of us are afraid of what we will find if we look too closely. We are afraid of the darkness, the failures, the contradictions, the parts of ourselves we have tried to hide from everyone, including ourselves. So instead of looking, we stay busy. We scroll. We consume. We socialize. We work. We do anything and everything to avoid sitting in silence with who we actually are. The Stoics called this practice of honest self-examination prosoke. It means attention to self, watchfulness over your own mind, your own thoughts, your own patterns. Epictetus taught that the first step toward freedom is examining your own beliefs. Because most of the beliefs that control your life, especially the beliefs you hold about yourself, were given to you by someone else. Your parents, your teachers, your culture, your past experiences, your failures, your heartbreaks. You absorbed all of these experiences and you built a story about who you are. And that story, that internal narrative, becomes the lens through which you see everything. If the story says you are not enough, you will live like you are not enough. You will accept less than you deserve. You will tolerate disrespect. You will shrink from opportunities. You will self-sabotage even when success is right in front of you. If the story says you are unlovable, you will unconsciously push away the people who try to love you, because their love will not match the story you believe about yourself. If the story says you are weak, you will live weakly, even when you are capable of extraordinary things. But here is the Stoic truth that changes everything. The story is not you. The story is just a story. And you, right now, in this very moment, have the power to examine that story, challenge it, and if necessary, rewrite it completely. Marcus Aurelius did this every single day. Every morning he would examine his mind. Every evening he would review his actions. He held himself accountable not with cruelty but with honest curiosity. He asked, "Where did I fall short today? Where did I let fear win? Where did I act from my values and where did I betray them?" This is the Stoic mirror, the practice of looking at yourself clearly, not to punish yourself, not to confirm your worst fears about yourself, but to understand yourself deeply enough to become who you were truly meant to be. So here is what I want you to do, and this might feel uncomfortable. That is okay. Discomfort is where growth lives. Ask yourself these questions honestly. What do I actually believe about myself when no one is watching? What stories am I telling myself about why I cannot have what I want? Where am I accepting less than I deserve, in relationships, in work, in life? Where am I giving my power away to other people's opinions? What would I do differently if I genuinely believed I was worthy of a great life? Write those answers down. Do not rush past them. Sit with them. Because somewhere in those answers is the key to understanding why you are not fully loving yourself yet. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And once you cannot unsee it, you can finally begin to change it. Chapter 3. Boundaries are an act of self-love. Let us talk about something that most people misunderstand completely. Boundaries. The word itself makes some people uncomfortable. It sounds cold, selfish, distant, like you are building walls around yourself to keep people out. But that is not what a boundary is. Not a real one. A boundary is not a wall. A boundary is a declaration. It is you standing up and saying, "This is who I am. These are my values. This is what I will accept and this is what I will not." Not out of anger, not out of fear, but out of deep, clear, unshakable self-respect. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic minds who ever lived, wrote that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. And nowhere is this more true than in the area of boundaries. We imagine that if we say no, people will leave us. We imagine that if we enforce our limits, we will be seen as difficult or selfish or unkind. We imagine that our boundaries will cost us love. And so instead of setting them, we sacrifice ourselves. We say yes when we mean no. We stay when we should leave. We accept treatment that diminishes us because we are more afraid of someone's reaction than we are committed to our own well-being. And what happens? We breed resentment.
We burn out.
We attract people who take advantage of our openness. We build relationships based on performance rather than authenticity. And slowly, we lose respect for others and most devastatingly for ourselves. Here is the truth the Stoics would tell you without hesitation. You teach people how to treat you. Every time you accept disrespect without consequence, you teach someone that disrespecting you is acceptable. Every time you sacrifice your needs to keep the peace, you teach the world that your needs are negotiable. Every time you abandon your own values to please someone else, you teach yourself that you are not worth protecting. And none of that is love. Not for them. Not for yourself. Real love, Stoic love, requires courage. The courage to be honest. The courage to say this does not work for me. The courage to walk away from what diminishes you even when walking away is painful. Marcus Aurelius understood that the quality of his inner life was non-negotiable. He was surrounded by people who wanted things from him. Advisors with agendas. Politicians with schemes. Even members of his own family who did not share his values. And yet he maintained his center. He maintained his integrity. He maintained the quiet dignity of a man who knew exactly who he was and refused to compromise it. That is what boundaries do for you. They protect your center. They protect the part of you that is most authentically you. They protect the energy and the peace and the clarity that you need to live a life of genuine meaning and purpose. Setting a boundary is not an act of aggression. It is an act of self-love. It is you saying, I matter enough to protect. And you do. You absolutely do. So wherever you are right now, in your relationships, in your work, in your family, I want you to ask yourself one honest question. Where am I saying yes when my soul is screaming no? That is where your boundary needs to be. And the moment you honor that, the moment you have the courage to enforce it, something remarkable will happen. You will feel something you might not have felt in a very long time. You will feel like yourself again. Chapter 4. Stop seeking validation from others. Here is one of the most liberating truths you will ever encounter. You do not need anyone's approval to be who you are. Read that again. You do not need anyone's approval to be who you are. Not your parents. Not your partner. Not your friends. Not strangers on the internet. Not the co-workers who gossip. Not the family members who criticize. Not the ex who left. Not the boss who overlooked you. Nobody gets a vote on your worth. Nobody gets a say in your value. Nobody holds the power to define who you are unless you hand that power over to them. And yet, if you are honest with yourself, how much of your life have you spent doing exactly that? Chasing approval. Performing for validation. Changing yourself to fit someone else's expectations. Measuring your worth by someone else's reaction. Posting something and waiting anxiously for the response. Doing things not because they align with your values, but because you wanted someone to see you and say, yes, you are enough. This is the trap. And it is one of the most exhausting traps a human being can fall into. Epictetus called external opinion one of the things not in our control. And he was ruthless about this. He said that worrying about what other people think of you is a waste of the only resource that truly matters: your attention. Because here is what happens when you build your sense of self on other people's opinions. You give them all the power. You make yourself hostage to their moods, their perceptions, their projections. On the days they approve of you, you feel good. On the days they do not, you fall apart. Your entire emotional state becomes dependent on something completely outside your control. And that is not freedom. That is a prison. One that you built yourself and that you walk into voluntarily every single day. The Stoic path is different. The Stoic path says, I will build my sense of self on something that cannot be taken away. On my values. On my character. On the choices I make when no one is watching. On who I am, not who others think I am. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the approval of the crowd should mean nothing to a man who truly knows himself. He had the most powerful validation in the world available to him. He was the emperor. People literally worshipped him. And yet he kept returning to this principle. Do not seek outside yourself what can only be found within. This does not mean you stop caring about relationships. It does not mean you become cold or indifferent to how your actions affect others. It means you stop making other people's opinions the measuring stick for your worth. It means you develop such a strong internal compass, such a clear and settled sense of who you are and what you stand for, that the noise of external opinion simply cannot shake you. And here is the beautiful paradox. When you stop desperately seeking validation, you become far more attractive, far more magnetic, far more respected. Because people can feel the difference between someone who is performing for approval and someone who is simply, powerfully, unapologetically themselves. Confidence that does not need confirmation is rare, and rare things are valuable. So stop performing. Stop shrinking. Stop editing yourself for other people's comfort. Be exactly who you are, fully, clearly, without apology. That is self-love in its most powerful form. Chapter 5. Healing your relationship with your past. Now we need to go somewhere a little deeper. Because one of the biggest reasons people struggle to love themselves is not what is happening right now in their lives. It is what happened then. The wound that never fully healed. The relationship that broke them. The failure that still defines how they see themselves. The word someone said to them years ago that they still hear echoing in their head today. The past. And here is what is so painful about it. The past does not live in the past. Not really. It lives in your nervous system, in your body, in your automatic reactions and your deepest fears and the way your chest tightens when someone says something that reminds you of a moment you have been trying to forget. You carry it with you everywhere, into every relationship, every new opportunity, every quiet moment when the noise dies down and the memories come rushing back. And one of the most destructive things the past can do is convince you that you are still who you were then. That the child who was told they were not smart enough is still not smart enough. That the person who was cheated on is still not worth being faithful to. That the one who failed publicly is still a failure. That the one who was abandoned is still not worth staying for. The past whispers these lies so quietly and so consistently that eventually they stop feeling like lies. They start feeling like facts. But they are not facts. They are wounds. And wounds can heal. The Stoics did not believe in drowning in the past. They were not naive about it either. They understood that pain is real. That loss is real. That betrayal cuts deep and grief is not something you simply think your way out of. But they also understood something else. That you are not your history. You are your choices. And every single moment you are alive, you have the power to choose who you become next. Epictetus, remember, this is a man who was enslaved. A man who had every reason to be defined by his suffering, taught that our suffering comes not from what happens to us but from our judgment about what happens to us. This is not victim blaming. This is not dismissing pain. This is one of the most radical acts of self-love you can perform. Choosing how you relate to your story. You do not have to be the villain of your own story. You do not have to be the victim either. You can be the protagonist. The one who went through the fire and came out forged. Every piece of pain you have experienced has given you something. Maybe wisdom. Maybe empathy. Maybe a clarity about what you will never accept again. Maybe a strength you would never have discovered in comfort. None of that erases the hurt. But it means the hurt was not wasted. Healing is not forgetting. Healing is not pretending it did not happen. Healing is being able to carry your story without being crushed by it. It is being able to look at your past with clear eyes and say, that happened. It shaped me. And I am choosing to build something beautiful from what it left behind. That is one of the most powerful acts of self-love that exists. Giving yourself permission to heal. Giving yourself compassion for your wounds. Giving yourself the grace to be a work in progress without treating yourself like a lost cause. You survived everything that was supposed to break you. That alone is proof that you are more powerful than you know. Chapter 6. Your body is a temple. Honor it. Marcus Aurelius understood something that most people today completely ignore. The mind and the body are not separate. They are one system. And how you treat your body is a direct reflection of how much you love yourself. Now I know this might sound basic. Take care of your body. Eat well. Exercise. Sleep. We have all heard this 1,000 times. But I want to go deeper than the surface level advice. Because this is not really about aesthetics or performance or even health metrics. This is about respect. The way you treat your body tells you, and the universe, exactly how much you believe you are worth taking care of. When you run on no sleep night after night, fueling yourself with caffeine and stress and willpower, you are not being strong. You are abandoning yourself. When you fill your body with things that numb you, alcohol, junk food, endless scrolling, anything to avoid feeling what you actually feel, you are not coping. You are running from yourself. When you push past every signal your body sends you, the exhaustion, the tension, the pain, and you override it all in the name of productivity or obligation, you are not hustling. You are disrespecting the only home you will ever truly live in. Seneca wrote that the body is a burden and a torment if not properly cared for, but when it is attended to wisely and generously, it becomes the foundation from which we do our greatest work. Loving yourself means honoring your physical existence. Not obsessively, not with perfectionism, but with genuine, consistent care. It means sleeping because rest is not weakness, it is recovery. It means moving your body not to punish it but to celebrate what it can do. It means eating in a way that gives you energy rather than draining it. It means slowing down when you need to slow down, without guilt, without apology. It means listening to your body the way you would listen to someone you love when they tell you they are struggling. With attention. with kindness, with a willingness to respond. Your body is not a machine to be optimized. It is not an inconvenience to be managed. It is you. It is the physical expression of your one and only life. Treat it accordingly. Chapter 7. Protecting your peace and your energy. We live in the most overstimulated, overconnected, overdemanding era in human history. Your attention is being competed for every single second of every single day. Your phone, your inbox, social media, news, other people's drama, other people's needs, other people's emergencies. And most people, without even realizing it, have handed over their most precious resource to all of it: their attention, their energy, their peace. The Stoics, who lived in a world far simpler than ours and still found it overwhelming, were deeply intentional about where they allowed their attention to go. Marcus Aurelius wrote constantly about the importance of returning to yourself, of not letting the noise of the world pull you away from your center, of protecting the inner citadel, the part of you that is calm, clear, and unmoved by the chaos around you. Loving yourself means protecting your energy as fiercely as you would protect anything else you value. It means being selective about what you consume, what you watch, what you read, what conversations you engage in, what news you allow into your mind first thing in the morning when your defenses are down. It means being honest about who drains you and who fills you, not with cruelty, not cutting people off carelessly, but with clarity, understanding that your energy is finite, that every interaction either adds to you or takes from you, and that you get to choose, with wisdom and intention, how you allocate it. It means creating space in your life for silence, for stillness, for the kind of deep, uninterrupted presence with yourself that allows you to hear your own thoughts, feel your own feelings, and reconnect with who you actually are beneath all the noise and obligation. This is not luxury. This is necessity. A warrior who never rests is not strong. A warrior who never rests is dead before the real battle even begins. Your peace is not something the world will protect for you. The world will take everything you are willing to give and then ask for more. You have to be the one who says, "This is mine. This is not available for consumption. This is sacred." And then you have to mean it. Chapter 8. Self-love and relationships. Now let us address something that touches every single person watching this. How loving yourself changes your relationships. Because this is where so many people get it wrong. They believe that if they love themselves more, if they become more centered, more boundaried, more self-respecting, they will push people away. That the people in their lives will see it as rejection or selfishness and leave. And here is the truth. Some of them might. But those are not the ones you actually want to keep. Because here is what self-love does to your relationships. It transforms them completely. It takes them from survival mode to genuine connection. When you love yourself, you stop choosing people out of desperation. You stop staying in relationships because you are afraid of being alone. You stop accepting crumbs of affection and calling it a feast. You stop settling for relationships that exist because they are familiar rather than because they are good. When you love yourself, you bring a whole person into every relationship rather than a half-empty shell looking to be completed. You stop needing your partner to be your entire emotional world. You stop suffocating the people you love with needs that are really your own responsibility to meet. When you love yourself, you attract differently. Because the energy you carry, the settled, grounded, full energy of a person who does not need to be validated, is magnetic. It draws people who are on the same level. People who are also building themselves. People who want to be with you because they genuinely want to, not because you made yourself small enough to be manageable. Seneca wrote that a person who cannot be a good friend to themselves cannot be a good friend to anyone else. Think about that for a moment. The quality of your relationship with yourself sets the ceiling for the quality of every other relationship in your life. You will tolerate from others what you tolerate from yourself. You will give to others what you give to yourself. You will love others at the level you love yourself. And who does not? The single most powerful thing you can do is not find a better partner or better friends. It is become a better partner to yourself first. Chapter 9. The daily practice of self-love. Everything we have talked about today is beautiful in theory. But theory without practice is just philosophy. And the Stoics were not interested in ideas alone. They were interested in action. So let us talk about what loving yourself actually looks like in your daily life. Because self-love is not a destination you arrive at one day and then coast from. It is a practice. A daily, deliberate, sometimes difficult practice. It is how you start your morning. Before you pick up your phone. Before you check your messages. Before you let the world rush in. Do you give yourself even 5 minutes of quiet? Even 5 minutes of presence with your own mind before you hand it over to everyone else? The Stoics called this the morning meditation. Marcus Aurelius began every day by examining what challenges might come and how he intended to meet them with virtue. Not with anxiety. With intention. That 5 minutes can change everything. It is how you talk to yourself throughout the day. The internal monologue that runs constantly in the background of your mind. Is it kind? Is it honest? Is it the voice of a wise mentor who wants the best for you? Or is it the voice of a cruel critic who tears you down at every opportunity? You would not let a friend speak to you the way many of us speak to ourselves. Self-love means changing the channel. It means catching the cruel voice and replacing it, not with empty affirmations, but with honest, compassionate truth. You made a mistake. Okay. What can you learn? You failed at something. Okay. What does this teach you? You are struggling. Okay. What do you need right now? That is the voice of self-love. And you can practice it every single day. It is in your choices. Every choice you make is either an act of self-love or self-abandonment. Every time you choose sleep over scrolling, you love yourself. Every time you choose a hard conversation over quiet resentment, you love yourself. Every time you say no to something that drains you and yes to something that fills you, you love yourself. Self-love is built one choice at a time. One moment at a time. One day at a time. And here is the most important thing I can tell you about the practice. You will not always get it right. You will have days where you fall back into old patterns, where you abandon your boundaries, where you let the cruel voice win, where you choose comfort over growth. That is not failure. That is being human. Self-love includes the grace to stumble and keep going, the compassion to fall and get back up without drama, the wisdom to know that perfection is not the goal. Progress is. Every single day you practice, even imperfectly, you get stronger. Chapter 10. You are worth it. We are coming to the end of our time together today, and I want to leave you with something that I hope you carry with you long after this video ends. You are worth it. Not when you lose the weight. Not when you get the job. Not when you fix all your flaws. Not when you achieve the thing. Not when someone finally sees your value and validates it. Right now, as you are. With all your contradictions and your imperfections and your unfinished edges and your healing wounds. You are worth it. The Stoics believed in the inherent dignity of every human being. Not because of what you produce. Not because of what you own. Not because of what others think of you. But because you exist. Because you are rational. Because you have the capacity to choose. And in that capacity lies your greatest power and your greatest worth. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, commander of armies, ruler of millions, still went home every night and wrote in his private journal about the struggle to be better. About the battle to live with virtue. About the ongoing, daily, never-finished work of becoming who he was meant to be. If the most powerful man in the ancient world was still working on loving himself, still fighting to honor his own inner life and his own values, then you can forgive yourself for still being in that same work. This is not a journey that ends. It is a journey that deepens. It is not a problem to solve. It is a practice to commit to. And every single day you choose yourself, every single day you show up with honesty and courage and compassion for your own life, you become more whole, more free, more powerful, more capable of the love and the life you were born for. So here is my challenge to you as we close today. Pick one thing from everything we talked about. Just one. One boundary to set. One story to examine. One way to honor your body. One moment of silence to protect. One act of self-love to practice this week. Just one. Because transformation does not happen in massive dramatic leaps. It happens in the quiet, consistent, daily choices of people who have decided, once and for all, that they are worth fighting for. And you are. You absolutely are. This is Wisdom Unlocked. And this has been Love Yourself First. If this video reached something inside you, if it stirred something that has been waiting to be stirred, I want you to do something right now. Hit that subscribe button. Not for me. For yourself. Because what we do here is not just content. It is a commitment. A commitment to living with more intention, more wisdom, more courage, and more genuine peace than the world around us seems capable of offering. Every single week we go deep. We go real. We bring the ancient wisdom of the Stoics into the modern battles you are actually fighting. The battles of self-worth and relationships and focus and discipline and purpose and peace. This is a community of people who have decided that average is not enough. That distraction is not enough. That performing for others is not enough. This is a community of people who are choosing, every single day, to live from the inside out. Subscribe. Hit the bell so you never miss a lesson that could change your life. And if this video spoke to you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because somewhere in your life right now there is someone who is running on empty. Someone who has forgotten their worth. Someone who needs exactly this reminder today. Be the person who sends it to them. Thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing growth. Thank you for trusting Stoic Ascension with your time and your mind. Now go love yourself first. And we will see you in the next one.